Are you the type of person that struggles with staying focused? Well, this week on Motivation and Confidence, we're going to tell you about the L.I.T.E.R method and how to stay focused. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for coming back with us another week. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. So I had actually asked a question on Instagram, and I always invite all of you guys to send your questions. You can hit the website tomdanger.com and just fill out the contact form with your question, or hit me on Twitter or IG. Handle is tomdanger. And I wanted to get a feel for the subject to talk about this week. And of the items that we put out to question, quite a few people came back with struggling or how to stay focused. Okay. So in discussing this with Grace, my co-producer, videographer, general manager, wife, mother of my children, and everything else, I came up with an acronym that is called the L.I.T.E.R method. Okay, L-I-T-E-R. So we have 5 steps that we're going to recommend to you in order for you to stay focused. Okay, now, quick story. Ever since I was in the 2nd grade, I'm really going to say this, like, I hated school. I could never stay focused. I remember being in the 2nd grade and it's like the teacher's teaching in the front and I'm just yawning in the back of the class, like stretching my hands. And another teacher's looking into the classroom because I was, I guess, toward the back of the class. And she's like, "Thomas, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Truth be told, I was bored out of my mind. It's just the way that they taught, like, it didn't keep me engaged. I don't know, or I just wanted to play or do something else. And it's always been that way when it comes to me being in an environment where I have to do something. If I'm there and I have to do it for some reason, in general, I just get disengaged. Like, I don't want to do something if I'm told that I have to do it. Love to read books. I read books all the time. If you guys are ever looking for any book recommendations, feel free to hit me up. I got a couple of books that, not a couple, I have quite a few books that I could recommend for personal development, self-awareness and such. And as always, I invite you, if you've never taken a self-awareness questionnaire, again, hit me on the website, tomdanger.com. and I can give it to you for free. It takes no more than 10 minutes. Not trying to sell you anything. Take it for 10 minutes. We speak via Zoom for maybe 20 minutes. And if it's something that you want to pursue further, then there's a fee, right? But the first wow of what your superpower is and what you're good at, that call is for free. Now, back to business. If there is a subject that I have to learn about, I don't care to learn about it. If I find something intriguing, I like to go down the rabbit hole as far as I can go and learn as much as I can. So, staying focused, all over the place as usual. Stay with me, right? You will know whether or not you are into something based on your level of engagement. Again, in school, talking about whatever, I got bored quickly. I didn't stay focused because the subject matter did not interest me. But let's say if it were talking about food or clothing or arts and fashion, I'm there. I'm lost with it, right? I can just go down the path of getting lost in time because I enjoy it. And I want to learn as much as I can about it. And I want to speak to as many people as I can about those subjects so that I can just learn more. So that's a little barometer or an indicator that you could use as to what you're into and what you're not into. All right. So now we're going to get into the L.I.T.E.R method. And the first letter is L. And L basically means make a list. Make a list of a few things. Always recommend a list of daily goals. It doesn't matter if the goal is as simple as make my bed, go to the store, eat lunch, have a cup of coffee, spend time with the kids. Here's a good one. Leave 5 comments on someone else's pages on social media. Make 2 posts. Engage with a new person. You have to make a list. You want to stay focused, you got to make a list. Because if you don't make a list, it's sort of like dealing with email. For those of us who have, the unfortunate situation of work emails and they just come in like by the hundreds, you only handle, or your attention is given to the last email that comes in. So here's where you have your list, because you never want to function your days out of email or DMs or text messages, whatever that last thing is to interrupt you, to get your attention. Then that's where you're going to start to shift your mind. So you have to make a list of things that you want to complete. If you want to get granular, put, I would say, 1 item on that list that you would like to achieve the most. An example, every Saturday there are 2 things that my wife and I do. It's actually 3. Take pictures, film a music video, do the podcast. Those are our big 3, 2 hours every Saturday, no exceptions. Everyone knows once we lock in, we lock in. That's on our list. Now, if we have other nice to haves, that's cool. But when we're in that time, this is where we stay. Okay, so you want to make a list of whatever it is that you want to do. So you can do daily, you could do weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. If you go back to the other episode where we were talking about a vision board, we began with the end in mind and we set our big goals. We actually set 6-month goals and we work backwards. So that's what you're doing with the list. You're putting your big goal there and then you're working backwards. Okay? So the L is for creating a list. Now, I. The I stands for ignore distractions. We're going back to the email example. Not even email, right? Let's go to the elephant in the room. Social media. On your phones. When it comes time for you to go into focus mode, you want to turn off those distractions. You want to, turn your phone off altogether. Lock in your time. Turn your phone off so that you're not distracted, because those distractions will constantly keep you away from whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Okay? And social media will drive you crazy like that, because the alerts, they just go off all the time. And then, truthfully, it's just a time waster. You have to be very, very strategic when you're using social media, because otherwise than that, you just find yourself scrolling aimlessly, looking at silly videos, or even, sometimes you could find yourself, even if it's not silly videos, you can go down the path of getting lost in self-help videos or business tactics or social media strategies or just whatever you like, whatever it is that you're into. Now, this is going to sound a bit contradictory, but hear me out 1 second. The majority of content that you're looking at when you're distracted, more or less, are the things that you enjoy to do. So when you're talking about staying focused, are you engaging in the things that you truly want to enjoy? Is that distraction taking you away from what you should be doing, or is it pulling you toward what you truly want to do? That's a question that you have to ask yourself. Because maybe the item that you're working on is not something that you want to work on. Now, if it's work or school or something like that, you create the buckets. And that moves us to our next. You okay? Your stomach making sounds, you got gas and everything. Take 2. And the next letter in leader is T. That brings us to timer. Make sure you set a time limit when you're working on things. I've recently discovered and started using on my phone the Pomodoro timer, which is a timer I think was created by an Italian guy. 25 minutes, you focus. You set the timer 25 minutes, whatever task you're working on, you give it 100% your attention. And then once that timer is up, you take a break and you reward yourself for 5 minutes or so, and then you lock back in. So make sure that you set a timer on the things that you do. Now, especially if you're doing a task that you don't enjoy doing, you may want to make the timer a little shorter, like 25 minutes may be too long. It may be grueling. I know when I first started reading books, when I was in school, I couldn't read more than like 3 pages at a time. But guess what? I remember reading a book one time and I was trying to read for like an hour. And every time at 15 minutes, I started falling asleep. So I adjusted myself to the 15-minute rule. I know that when I need to read something at that time for school, I'm going to lock in for 15 minutes and I'm going to give it the focus that it needs to have. And then I'm going to take a break from it. And then I'm going to come back to it. Sometimes we have a habit of, let me rephrase that. Sometimes you have a habit of trying to do so many things at one time instead of focusing in on the one thing that you need to change. An example, say you got a kid and their grades are bad, right? And you say to your kid, hey, you need to improve your grades. Your grades are not good in school. You're failing all your classes. Now, that can actually be demotivating because which one of us can improve everything at one time? Can you really do everything at one time? Or do you need to focus on one of the items to get it right? And this is a fault that a lot of us have going into the new year. We set all these huge goals, but we don't break them down into buckets. We try them out. We get started. The diets, the this, the small business ideas, side hustles. Month and a half into it, back to the regular routine. You got to break it down. Give everything a time limit. Set a time limit on what you want to do. Break it into small pieces. Okay? The next letter is E. Expectations. What are your expectations when you're working on this thing? Even when you talk about focus, what does focus look like to you? If your mind is drifting off to somewhere else, have you ever thought about giving the somewhere else the attention that it needs to have so that it can be soothed and relieved, and then go back to doing what you need to do? Especially for us creators, sometimes when you create so much, you get burnt out. Your ideas, like, you just can't figure it out. It's because you've stayed in a certain zone too long and you've set an expectation on what you expect for it to look or sound like or feel like, as opposed to going with the flow. Because when you truly go with the flow with no expectation, then the ideas flow to you unlimited, in abundance. And sometimes you have to shift your attention from what you're always locked into something totally different so that you can gain a different perspective of it. Right? You ever hear the phrase about football players that also do ballet training? Have you ever heard about that? You ever heard about that, Grace? Right? so that they can learn how to be lighter on their feet? It's the same principle. You want to do things that take you outside of what you're expecting and what you do that you may tend to burn yourself out from. Go with the flow and then come back to whatever it is that you're working on. Set that timer and go for it. Okay? The last letter is R. And R is for repetitions. You got to put in the repetition. So these, the L, the I, the T, and the E, right? The list, ignore distractions, the timer, expectation. When you do those steps, you have to do it repeatedly because it's like working out. You got to build the muscle. If you don't build the muscle, you won't get stronger. If your struggle is to focus and you don't put the work into focus, guess what? You'll never focus. Or, I won't say never focus, you will always have the struggle with focusing. You have to work at it. So many of you just give up as soon as you're like, oh, this is not, I'm not into this, or, oh, I just can't focus. No, you can focus. Your effort to focus is just, you got to put more into it than what someone else would. Sharing this with you because I am literally a scatterbrain. My mind bounces a million ideas a minute. I have to slow it down. You have to slow it down. I always like to use the example of reverse engineering your thoughts. When your mind starts to drift to another place, let it go wherever it needs to go, and then think about or backtrack why did it go there and bring it back to the present moment. And I know that that happens a lot of time when you're having a conversation with a person. You ever have a conversation with a person and you're looking at them and after a while you get the womp womp? Because you're not really that interested in what they're saying. So you're not really focused on what they're saying, but you hear a sound, but you can't hear the actual words. Maybe it's not a conversation that you want to hear. And at that moment, I don't mean to be rude, but I have to step away for a moment. Like, we have to stop not being honest with ourselves. If something doesn't interest you, it doesn't interest you. If you're in a job that you don't like, there's nothing wrong with looking for another job. If you're in a school and in a class that you don't like, there's nothing wrong with looking for another class. We all have responsibilities. So either way, even it doesn't matter where you shift it to, you're still going to have to apply it. Because guess what? When it comes to looking for the new job, you got to focus on finding a new job. How about that? When you want to get out that relationship, you got to focus on getting your mind right so that you can draw the right energy towards you. Let me know what you think about this leader method. Try it. Let's as a group set a goal today, right? If you struggle with staying focused, try this for 21 days, right? The saying goes it takes 21 days to build a habit, 90 days to build a lifestyle. So for 21 days, pick an item that you struggle with staying focused on, apply this method. So in your journal every day, and you have to get a journal in your notepad in your phone or whatever, L.I.T.E.R, right? List. Ignore distractions, timer, expectations, repetitions, right? Do it, and then let's have this conversation 21 days, 30 days from now, and say, Tommy, you full of crap, or it helped me. Either way, I won't be offended, I promise you, right? This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.